Day live on TalkSport with Intuit QuickBooks, helping you take care of business. From the goals in Glasgow
like a rocket
to the saves in Seville.
Oh, it's cleared off the line!
From early kick-off in Copenhagen to the very final whistle at Wembley. No one gets you closer to the action and the exhilaration of the biggest tournament in European football. Euro Game Day live on TalkSport with Intuit QuickBooks, helping you take care of business. Search QuickBooks to find out more. TalkSport Sports Update.
10 this Tuesday morning, Tuesday the 6th of July. Big one in the Euros tonight, more on that later. In the meantime, here's Jake.
The ECB are having to name a brand new squad for England to face Pakistan after 3 players and 4 backroom staff contracted COVID-19. The rest of the group have been considered close contacts, so they have to self-isolate as well. Spain manager Luis Enrique says there are no favourites ahead of his side's last 4 game at the Euros, with Italy at Wembley tonight, and the Australian Grand Prix has had to be cancelled for a 2nd year in a row because of the coronavirus pandemic. It had already been moved from March to November, with organisers citing restrictions and logistical challenges.
England won in Rome. Now is football finally coming home.
As you stand like greyhounds in the slips, straining upon the start, the game's afoot! Follow your spirit, and upon this charge cry, God for Harry! Harry Kane, it is the perfect start for England! England! Harry Kane again!
England versus Denmark in the semi-final of Euro 2020. Kick-off tomorrow night from 8 on TalkSport.
Jim and Simon live on TalkSport, also live, of course, on YouTube and Facebook. Have a look. You can watch us as well as listen to us. Loving this Tuesday morning. Game-changing signings you never expected to turn into stars at your clubs. On this day in 2015, Liverpool completed the signing of Firmino. Who else has turned your head a bit and you thought, wow, so glad we get him in? Celtic fans. Henrik Larsson to Celtic for 650 grand. Can you believe that? 650,000, and then Larsson goes on to do what he did. Many Leeds fans, there's one of them, Phil in Leeds. Lucas Radebe, Jim, to Leeds United. He was thrown in as part of a £750,000 deal to bring the late Phil Masinga to Elland Road. Radebe is still loved, an absolute gem of a man. He is indeed. I think I saw him out when I was out in South Africa some time ago, and he's much loved out there. Keep them coming. 8, 10, 89 game-changing signings at your football club. Talking about one football club who have had a few of those. Has to be Newcastle United, and now Newcastle United back in the news, Simon, and of course nobody better to give us your take on this. We're talking about the takeover that never happened, the Saudi takeover, and in actual fact, if memory serves me right, it was the Saudis who pulled out in the end and said, we've gone as far as we'll go, we're not pursuing it any longer. And of course there was one hell of a lot of excitement amongst Newcastle fans that this thing was going to be game-changing, seems to be the phrase at the moment, for this football club in question. And now Amanda Staveley, who was operating on behalf of the Saudis, has come out with she's written an open letter to Tracy Couch, who's leading a government. She's leading a government-commissioned review of football's governance, and Amanda Staveley criticises the use of confidential arbitration processes to resolve disputes within football. Before she adds, one might justifiably ask why that model is so favoured by those responsible for regulating the sport if they have nothing to hide. In other words, what Amanda Staveley is saying here, look, we still want to know why this takeover didn't come about, and we want it out in the open. Why did it not come about? This is what Staveley was saying, really effectively, to Sky News.
I really would urge government to join our voice, and it is in the best interest of the government, of the regulators and the fans, and eventually the Premier League. Because you will only encourage investment into football, and particularly the Premier League, if stakeholders can see that this is a transparent, well-run organisation. And that's when you'll get, exciting deals done on content and various others.
So it begs the question, Simon, is the Premier League not transparent?
It's what she's saying isn't steeped in any real fact. But where she is right, and where I do agree with her, is that the transparency methodology should be part and parcel of arbitration processes isn't just in the Premier League. It's the EFL as well. You've got two facets. You've got an arbitration panel which is made up of people that are seconded that don't understand football business, that take forever and a day to get to decisions because half the time they're being briefed on how football hangs together, what the accountancy principles are, what the reasons are behind the football peculiarities that are going on. Right. So you've got that part of things that aren't working very well. You've got people like Trevor Birch trying to fix that in the EFL, and the Premier League needs to do the same. It needs to second a group of experts that are readily available, that you can go to, that understand football business, and can get to decisions quickly. The second part of it, and where she bloody well knows, is this is nothing to rules inside football that football itself has voted for, including Newcastle United, that suggests that arbitration panels remain behind closed doors. Well, they remain.
Why not change the rules though?
That is the gift of the clubs in the Premier League and the Football League.
So Sam,
it's got nothing to do with
you're being unfair on her because your outburst on her I think is unfair because
calling for Amanda Staveley's interest is based upon Amanda Staveley's opportunity, and all this nonsense I had to listen to last year about her in tears about the opportunity that was missed for Newcastle United. It's really about the opportunity being missed for Amanda Staveley, and we need to get that into focus.
I know Amanda Staveley. She did one hell of a lot of work, spanning a long number of months.
I'm sure she did,
to try and facilitate this thing on behalf of the Saudis.
With other people's money.
So why do you have rules in place that do not finish up with us knowing the reasons why the takeover didn't happen?
Because the football rules...
We need transparency.
I'll answer the question. The football rules, and I agree, and this is where I agree with Amanda, there is no reason why in this day and age, in the 21st century, that the football business doesn't operate with complete and utter transparency. In real terms, despite the notion that these businesses are owned by people that have private wealth to do what they want, they are, in essence, public domain businesses. Not because they are funded by the public, but because of the value that they have to the community. So I'm exactly in the place that Amanda Staveley is about changing the rules to incorporate transparency. But it is not the government's job to change the rules. It's nothing to do with the government. You have 20 members of the Premier League that Richard Masters represent, and if they want to change those rules, 14 of them can rock up and call for an issue to change the rules for transparency and have all of these findings in the public domain. Now, you need to be careful what you wish for, because clearly there is a reason. Richard Masters isn't coming out and saying, I'm going to put this in front of the clubs, because clearly, behind closed doors, the clubs themselves, and not in this instance Newcastle United, because it doesn't suit them. And by the way, this isn't an agenda against Newcastle United. If this group of people that were trying to buy Newcastle were trying to buy another club in the Premier League, they would fall foul of the same circumstances they've fallen foul of. And what this is really about, Jim, let's not lose the essence of what this is really about. This is about piracy issues. This is about people that of a Saudi Arabian persuasion and influence that have hijacked broadcasting deals and pirated them.
Well, if it is about that, get it out in the open and then we can have a look at it.
Yes, Jim. But you can't put it in the open unless the member clubs decide that that's what they want.
But you just said that they should.
But that's up to them. It's not up to Amanda Staveley. It's up to them.
But Simon, I can see exactly what she's doing here, and so can you. Deep down, you know the Premier League's not going to change this. So how about some government pressure to change it? That's what she's saying.
Because it's nothing to do with government. It's to do with the 20 clubs that are inside the Premier League and the 20 clubs that believe it's appropriate to change the governance of football to make it transparent. And what Amanda is doing is tub-thumping, as she always does, making a lot of noise to try and create an opportunity to operate in a vacuum.
She's made a good point.
She's making a point that needs to be made about transparency.
Open and transparent.
But she needs to make that point with the 20 clubs that vote for it. The government can't come in and suggest...
But you just said they're not going to vote for it.
No, I'm suggesting that at this current time, there clearly isn't an appetite in the football fraternity. And let's also be clear what we're talking about here. Do we need another nation state coming into football with billions and billions and billions and billions of pounds that has no regard for the well-being of the ecosystem, doing precisely what it wants? There's a question and answer on that. There could be, no, we don't. But that ship has sailed. The world of football is changing again. It is no longer millionaire status. It's billionaires and foreign nations that are going to come in and run our football franchises.
Well, look, I'll localise it then. Do you not think every Newcastle fan in the land deserves to know why the thing fell through? I'll answer that for you. Yes, they do.
Do I think that every football fan or every Newcastle fan that supports Newcastle, that supports an initiative that their club has done nothing to change in 20 years, 28 years? Newcastle are a member club of the Premier League. If they wanted to change the transparency rules around arbitration, it was their gift to have done this at any time in the last 29 years since the formation of the Premier League. Why haven't they done it? Why hasn't Mike Ashley filed his accounts last year that would he extended his accountancy period from June to July to absorb certain finances and hasn't filed them in January? Why don't people do things properly in football rather than sit there and start tub-thumping now because an agenda that Amanda Staveley is representing on behalf of Newcastle fans when really it's about Amanda Staveley?
No, hang on a second. The very question you just asked is the right question. Why don't people in football do it the right way? That's what she's asking.
Because there is a...
She's saying, why isn't the process open and transparent?
Okay, why is it that... Let me give you another example of how football operates. Why is it that football players are secured creditors and nobody else is? When a club goes into administration, why do the players have to be paid all their wages, but every other creditor, whether it's the greengrocer, the candlestick maker or the butcher, gets knocked? Why? Because football gets held together in a certain way, and there are certain things that are unique to an industry. Now, I am agreeing with Amanda that transparency should be now part and parcel of the business of football.
Hallelujah!
But it's not Amanda's gift. It's not Amanda's gift to tub thump and rail the government to do it.
But someone's going to say it.
It's the 20 clubs in the Premier League.
The heart of the matter here.
It's the 20 clubs, including Newcastle, that have attached no value to it, and they can still do it if they want to, of which Newcastle are one. So Newcastle should be asking to put forward an agenda in front of the other 20 clubs inside the Premier League saying, we want to implement a rule change which brings all arbitration towards the public domain.
So what's wrong with that?
Nothing wrong with it.
And why won't the others vote for it?
Because currently the initiative hasn't been put...
As you can see, that car there was in the wrong, was driving alongside the road.